Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to walk you through my top 5 tips for coloring grayscale coloring pages. So stay tuned and we'll get started. Tip number 1, not all grayscale is created equally. So there are so many different versions of grayscale books out there. I have a handful in my own collection, not as many as I will probably eventually get. But they're all a little different. So this is, I just thought I'd show you some variety. So this is grayscale, but it's very light grayscale. This is from Coco Wild's Beauties in Fairyland book. And I love this book. I've got a couple of pages in here I've colored. But on this book in particular, you could see, let me zoom in, there's some grayscale on the eyes, in the hair. A lot of this grayscale is done through line art, not necessarily like here. That is sort of grayscale. Her eyeshadow, a little bit on the contour on her lips. So this is a very easy page to color, and you could color that almost like as if there's no grayscale. But there still is grayscale. So I wanted to point that out. So this is one that is very common, that predates a lot of the AI books, I think. So that's one example. My next example is, you guys have seen me color in this book, cute baby dragons. This is definitely an AI generated book. But here's a page I colored, but you can see here, the grayscale is a little darker than what we just saw in the Coco Wild books. But again, this is a very easy grayscale to color, almost as if the grayscale, almost like a normal coloring page, because it's so light. It's real easy to get any desired colors that you probably want to get. You don't have to be real picky about how you do that. So that's the next one. So as we progress a little darker, this is from, oh, what is this book? It's a witch book. Oh, whoops. Witch coloring book by Mythic Art. So this one is definitely AI. Oops, I'm sorry guys, I keep knocking my stand. That's my book covers. Anyway, but you can see here we've got more grayscale, a lot more contour, like in her eyes, around her neckline, where the shadows are, things like that. So this is going to be a little trickier to color. But I think this is kind of maybe more of a medium grayscale. Like, okay, if we were ranking easy to hard, this would probably be a medium page for grayscale challenge. So here's a page I colored. And again, you can take advantage of those shadows and where they are as hints to help you get the right lightness, like up here on her eyes, the neck, things like that, to get that same kind of shadow, like maybe under the brim of her hat. So I would say this is medium. So as we progress even further to a darker grayscale, this book is super cute. Y'all I don't know why I haven't colored a page in this book yet. Coloring book Magic Jars. Isn't that cute? I don't know if this is AI or not. No clue. But this grayscale tends to be achieved more through, it looks like line art with little hatched lines, than the gray per se that you would see in the other AI books. So again, I don't know if this is AI or not, but this is going to be more challenging because you've got darker contrast, darker features compared to, like, I guess this is a sky or moon, or the moon, I don't know. Whatever that is. A Kleenex. It's a cloud. But this is going to be a little more challenging. So this is now we're getting a little more advanced with how you would approach this page and shade with it. And then I think the most challenging is in these newer books, something like this. So this has a lot of different values from dark to light. So these pages I think will be a little more challenging with the details and how to color them. But again, with the shadow and light, you're going to have a lot of hints for you to take the guesswork out of how to get the depth and shading that you want. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. But I don't want you to be afraid of pages like this because they're, just because it's a little more challenging grayscale, it can still be very easy to color and very beautiful. one page, and this is, oh, I didn't even show you the book. I did the flip through on this. Imagine by Angie Grace and Letty Blue. So on this one, I have already started coloring. This is the jeweled, I don't know, I could just call her the jeweled lady. She's got jewels in her hair, a giant flower, jewels on her dress. She just sparkles. So I did all of the sparklies. Gel pens are a fantastic medium for grayscale because they are opaque, but you're going to lose some of your grayscale shading. But this was a real easy way there were a lot of lines in here that were super detailed, so I just took the gel pen and made my own lines in a way to make it easier to approach. So this is probably going to be the most challenging kind of grayscale that you will work with or see out there, I'm guessing. It just really depends, though. So this book has a variety of a lot of different things. So like this here, you can see lighter, darker, but they're still very beautiful images. So that's tip number 1. Not all grayscale pages are created equally. I'll be back with number 2. Tip number 2, don't fight the grayscale highlights and lowlights. What do I mean by that? So here in this book, so again, we agreed this is like a medium book to color. So I'm going to show you how I would color and approach coloring her hair, just to show you. So you can see here, there's some shadow from the brim of her hat, which interestingly disappears. So that's how you can tell this is AI. But we could even do like up here, but you can see there's natural shadows in her hair. So I've picked out 4 Prismacolors. I've got sand, jasmine, goldenrod, and burnt umber. That's it. I've got I think the French name here. I've already gone through the English name. So what I'm going to do, what I mean is, so where there's like the whitest part, I'm going to use my lightest color, so which is sand. So let me zoom in and show you how this can look and how easy this is. So I'm just taking the sand in here. And if you think about like how the sun hits somebody's hair, usually these little curves that stick out are going to be lighter because they're closer to the light source or the sun. Let's say if she's standing in the sun. And then as you get closer to the darker area, I'm going to step down with my colors and shade. So now I'm going to bring in like the darker yellow, which is the jasmine, and start coloring that in there. And now I'm getting up close to under the brim of her hat, where I might introduce the goldenrod. And you can see how that's going to add a little bit more of a shadow, coloring under that brim of her hat, and just blend it back down. Now I have these gray lines in here. Oh, Kim, what are you going to do with those gray lines? Well, I'll show you. Don't be afraid of them. It's like I said, don't fight them. Work with them, because you can get something really pretty from this. And let me just bring this down over here. So let's see how this is super, it's like almost blown out like a white highlight. You could even use like a white Posca pen or gel pen there if you wanted to. So here I'm coloring light. And then as I move towards my shadow, I'm going to go darker. And then darker again with this goldenrod. And then I'm going to blend it back out. So I move away. Okay, so even here, I'm coming back into a shadow, but maybe the shadow isn't as dark, so maybe this one just gets a little bitty hint of the goldenrod down here. Okay, so now I've got the burnt umber, this little nub. I'm going to take this guy, and I'm going to color in. I'm just going to follow the lines and use that. And you don't have to color exactly over their lines, the artist lines. You can, but here's what's really nice. So once you lay down that line, you can take your lighter pencil and sort of blur over it and get a little bit more of a blend on that, and then it won't look like such a sharp line. You can even also use your goldenrod if you wanted to. But I'm hoping you can see how you can follow the cues that the darker values are giving you when you go to color grayscale. So this here, I probably might do all with the, I keep wanting to say burnt ochre. It's burnt umber. Burnt umber. You can even tuck a little burnt umber right under that brim of the hat right there. But this has a lot more shadow over here following the gray on the page. And then you can just color with your different colors and mix it up. But that's tip number 2. Don't fight the clues that are there for you to help you. I think that you can really do something beautiful with this if you just kind of work with it and not against it. I think a lot of people, when they see grayscale books, they get nervous, thinking that it's going to be too challenging. I don't know what am I supposed to do with all these gray areas? I don't like them. I want to cover them up. So there are ways, like I'm showing you here. You could cover it up with your darker pencils. You could cover it up with like a gel pen liner or something like that. Or you could just work with them and not be afraid of them. You can see. So now she's got, it's like maybe a sandy blonde with some beautiful highlights. And you can just smear those lines around. And let me zoom back out, and then you can kind of see how that looks. So that's tip number 2. Don't fight the values in the light and dark areas. I'll be back with tip number 3. Tip number 3, pay attention to the kind of paper that your page is printed on. So here, this book is Amazon paper. I think I've mentioned in other videos, I am not a fan of the black background for a couple of reasons, but a lot of the time this black ink can come up with your pencil. So here I've got a very light Prismacolor. This is 1086 1086 Sky Blue Light. And on this pencil, so if I color here in the middle, this might be hard to see because it is so light. But if I color here in the middle, I'll get a pretty blue. But then let's say I want to try to color the cloud with the blue. Well, what happens is this pencil can actually, I don't know if you can actually see this, but the pencil is actually smearing this black ink around. And you kind of get an ugly effect. So pay attention to the paper that you're using. If you are using Amazon paper with grayscale, just be careful with your lighter pencils in these darker areas because it can pick up and smear around those darker spaces. So what I would do is save those darker spaces for darker pencils. So that's tip number 3. Tip number 4, blend, blend, blend. You know I am a huge blender of colored pencils. It's my favorite thing. I used to think alcohol markers were my favorite thing, but colored pencils are definitely my favorite thing to color with these days, and I am a blending fool. So what I did as an example here, I took one pencil. This is Spring Green, Prismacolor Spring Green, and I can never quite get that right for y'all. And I colored one section of the wing, just like a straight color, no shading, nothing, just that spring green. And you can see a little bit, let me zoom in here. You can see you do get a little bit of the grayscale peeking through. Now again, this is one of the lighter to medium. Some of these pages are super light in this book and some are a little bit darker. So I picked a page that had a little bit darker grayscale. But you can see some of it comes through. But if I take my pencils and I blend that light to dark, tucking that dark in right along where those shadows are, look at what a beautiful difference that makes. It really gives it a lot more depth to the picture, a lot more contrast, and just visual interest overall. So the key to really helping maximize the benefit of these gray shaded areas is a really super cool blending, I'm just like stumbling over my words today, technique. So just blend. You don't have to, now this is 5 colors, so you know I go crazy, but you could even do 2 or 3 just to kind of show that contrast and take advantage of these beautiful gray shaded areas that are there for you to follow. So that is tip number 4, blend, blend, blend. Tip number 5, choose your medium wisely. So what I'm going to do is show you an example of using markers, ink tints, gel pens, and pencils on this same page. So you can see the difference, but this is Amazon paper. So these ink tints are definitely going to buckle, but you can see how we've got the darker little shadow here on the flowers. So this is thistle, and of course I've numbered my pencils. So this is thistle here. So I'm going to go in with a little light thistle, and I am not very good at ink tint. So you guys, please grade me on a curve. I'm still trying to get the hang of these, and I'm pretty terrible at it. So hopefully by telling you that in advance, you will go easy on me. And then I've got fuchsia that I'll lay down next to that. And remember, with ink tints pencils, you can always use these as just regular pencils too. You don't have to activate them with water. You can just color them straight up. So I think I'll just do these two petals in the interest of time, and we'll see how that works. So let me add just a little bit more of the thistle. Okay. So again, for this video, I'm following the cues of the gray lines that are there for me, the gray shadows. All right, so let's see if I can get this going a little bit. Oh, and there's mistake number one. Okay, so here we go. So I've got quite a bit of water on this pen. I'm trying to gently brush it along. But you can see how the page is buckling already from the water. So, but again, it's a very pretty way to use grayscale. I would probably only do one layer. You can use ink tints on Amazon paper, but I probably wouldn't do more than one layer because then it will really super buckle big time on you. But that's one way you could use the shadows and highlights. Okay, let's look at alcohol markers. I'll be right back. Let me get this set up for you. Okay, I'm going to go in with 3 Copic markers, RV63, RV09, and then RV17 to try to color one of these flowers. And again, I'm just going to follow the grayscale. So this is the lightest color, RV63. So what I'm going to do is work backwards. So I'll use the darker color, RV17. And I do have my piece of paper behind this page because this is going to bleed for sure. But again, I'm just using the grayscale as a cue, and I'm following it with my colors. I probably shouldn't have used the RV colors because they are the hardest to blend. This might not be a good example for y'all, but you can see it's, again, it's just for demonstration purposes. So you can see, here's how you can follow the grayscale using alcohol markers as your medium. So there's an example of a petal colored with the grayscale. I'll be right back with gel pens. All right, I'm back. I've got my Tan Mint gel pens. They're glitter gel pens. I've got a peach pink and a rose red. So I will show you, let's see, let's use this petal here. So I'm going to start out with the lightest color here on the outside. And if you've never tried blending glitter pens, it is so much fun and so beautiful and so easy. The key is to blend your colors while the ink is still wet and hasn't dried yet, much like alcohol markers. So you can see the shadows here are tucked in right along the stamen and along the edges here where this flower is overlapping and maybe that leaf. And then I'll just go back in with the light color over that. But you can see that's another way, and maybe that light doesn't show it very well. But again, I'm just following the same rules, taking the darker pen and moving it to a lighter pen on the outside. So that is gel pens. I'll be right back with pencils. All right, I'm back to show you with pencils. And I think we've already kind of demonstrated the pencils, but just to go over it one more time. What you want to do is take so I've got 3 different pinks. A deco pink, I think this is regular pink, and then hot pink. Hot pink is just a little darker than the pink, so we'll use that. But again, you want your lightest values in the white space. And then you can move to your medium values, saving your darkest color and your strongest color for that shadow, because it can take it. It can handle that shadow. It's bold enough to overcome the gray and blend beautifully into the other colors that you've laid down next to it. This is actually mixing a warm pink with a cool pink. With the hot pink is actually a cooler pink. And then what I love about the deco pink is dragging this regular pink up. Now again, you're running into the black. Some of these lines are pretty strong on this page with the black Amazon ink, so be careful if you're coloring up against them, what can happen there, because you'll get that muddy look from the ink that you're smearing. You can see here, it's smearing around from these lines right here. I've got sort of a little bit of a gray. You might not be able to tell in between those lines from the ink. So there you go. So tip number 5 is knowing your mediums and trying different mediums to see which one you like the best. If I could add a bonus tip number 6, it would be to not be afraid to tackle grayscale pages and to not give up and keep trying and practicing on them until you finally get the hang of it and just, and maybe they're just not for you at all and you decide, I don't like this, I'm not going to buy these anymore. And that's cool too. But don't give up. Give it a try. See what you think. It doesn't have to be as challenging or ominous as it feels when you look at that page with all the shadows and, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do with this. Just break it down. Just start with one little section at a time. Like, I'm just going to do this strand of hair, this little section here. Just do that first and then see what you think. And then move to the next section. And, it's kind of like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Same thing for these more complicated grayscale pages. Or what you could do is take a book that's got easier, lighter grayscale features to it and start there. But I'm here to help you guys. I hope you found these tips useful and helpful. I hope that you've learned something. I know I learned that I can't speak today. So I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me. And please like and share and all that fun stuff. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.